All right, wanted to do a little video here to kind of show you some of the intricate things that go along with just gluing these on. Pretty straightforward. Just line it up as much as you can. With the tabs underneath it. Normally, what I'll do is I'll lay out, a few of each of the tabs, so it's just easy to grab. Get the black ones up here too. And then, of course, I like to keep a marker, black one and the red one as well. Have some scissors in case I need to trim anything. And then I use, on top of I'll provide this glue here for you. I usually like to use these little pad of some sort, cut little edge right there. It's actually really good to use as a kind of, you'll see as we basically paint on the glue onto these tabs. So just getting started here. When selecting the tabs, one thing we want to check for each one is make sure that they're all colored all the way around. Make sure there's no white showing, and then sometimes there will be like a little bit of like a streak, like a white, almost like a not a cut, but just like a white little streak across from like the printer or the cutter sometimes might create it. If it's real dramatic, I wouldn't use these. I always set them to the side if they do have a fairly visible white line. But if they're pretty clean, how this one's looking, it's not too bad. If it's visible, it's okay. But if it's something that it's a judgment call. If it's very visible or something you think you wouldn't want to see on your design, then we'll go ahead and discard that one, and just want to make sure that they're in really good condition. They don't have to be absolutely perfect, but we want them to be in the best condition when we do use them. And so the process here of gluing, and so I always just do just a tiny little bit to start out. Less is better, because if you do too much, then it's going to goop out the back and you're going to start getting some very runny glue tabs, and it's not going to be fun. So usually just a little dab like that. I'll grab this bad boy and I'll just do like just a little paint, make sure it goes to edge. And you can usually check the gleam right there. See, that's pretty good gleam. It's like a little bit of a layer, but not too much. Like it's, a bubble or like a puddle. But it's just enough that will stick. And then what I do is I hold the top here, and then I'll go down and I'll line this left side here. Let's see if we can get down here. I'll line this left side here right with the edge, and then I'll set that down, and I put my finger over the top, make sure the sides is pretty much lined up, and I let go, hold it, and then I start just aligning. You can use your finger just a little bit to scoot it, make sure that it starts looking straight as it can. This again doesn't have to be perfect, but we want it to look pretty straight. And so that's looking a little bit better. And of course, you want to make sure your fingers, hands are very clean. If they are just a little bit oily, it will, start showing on the tabs. They'll start showing on the box. You just want to make sure your hands are very dry. Or if not, the glove's going to be your best friend on this one too, but it can be a little difficult. So hands dry is key. Make sure you're not having any glue, from holding the tab after you put it on there. Sometimes I do that when I'm scraping on, when I'm painting it on, I'll accidentally get like a little bit on my edge of my fingers, and that sometimes will be on this finger when trying. So just want to make sure that even when placing it on here, that your fingers are very clean, and you set it down on this side, and you just go across or just kind of tap it a little bit to make sure it's on. So that's how that one looks. And again, we'll just go through each of these. Just want to give them a quick look, and I'll leave this one in there for you as a reference point. And again, it's just a tiny little dot. So even that, if you see this might even be an example of a little too much, especially for this small one. So I'll still scrape it, but I'm trying to take some of the glue off on here if I can, and then get that gleam again that we're looking for. If it's gleaming like that, that's good. If it's almost bulging, then it's too much. And if you don't see that at all, then it is not enough. They will fall off. So we'll put this one on. Same situation, and then you can just kind of adjust, and then you want to make sure that there's no glue come out the edges. You can hold up to some light, and that's when you can start seeing if there's any glue or fingerprints, stuff like that. That's the best indicator to see check your progress so you don't get too far and then realize that the first tab that you put a fingerprint in, and then you basically have to start over. Because at this point, any tabs that do have fingerprints or boxes of fingerprints, any smudges, big glue smudges, big glue ones will unfortunately not be able to use. So that's why we're just, and I'll take a little bit. If there's like a tiny smudge or just a tiny little thing, we'll make do. But it is a judgment call. So we'll do this one, nice little dabble right here on the glue. Then we'll a little scrape here, a little painting it, almost like painting the back of it. And again, we'll check the gleam, make sure it's not too much. Looks pretty good. And you want to make sure that it's not very thick. The glue is not very thick on the edges, because that's again where it'll start to bulge out on the sides here and won't be usable, unfortunately. So we'll do this one again. Just put on the edge, finger down, let go, and then adjust. And if you do happen to see we have a little bit of glue coming up on this one. So if that's the case, if you see just like a little bit of a white line, like the glue's running out, you can adjust the tab to go a little bit higher. And sometimes it will fix the issue. And sometimes you can do, if you scoot it and it doesn't fix it, you can also lift the tab up, which normally I just do with the little, like a little scraper or a little X-Acto knife to get the tab off the box without without scraping anything or getting glue elsewhere. So we'll try this again. We'll try to realign it a little bit higher, see if that helps, because it looks like pushing it sometimes will only just push the glue higher. I actually have to physically get it off the box and then replace it on there. So this one turned out a little bit better. It's not 100% fixed, but it looks better than it did. And so if we look now, there's not really too much glue. It looks on the right side here. We can scoot this over. Okay. And again, this is just a little bit minor adjustments. And just kind of give it a quick look. Like, okay, doesn't look like just too much glue. So just a little bit like that is fine. We'll make do. Anything, I would say anything more than that much kind of glue, like sticking out, drying out, probably won't be able to use. But that's definitely a good example of a usable glue situation there. Let's see, now we're just getting the last couple here before we get to the smaller tabs, which those can be a little tricky. So again, we're just checking, make sure. Give it one little bubble, just on one side, give that little bubble. And then come in, across, make sure you get each edge. Double check you got the gleam, not too much, looks good. Line that up, finger on down, adjust. All right, that one looks good. So we get to the last one on the side here. And these should take, I don't know, starting out, it'll take a little getting used to. Normally, they takes me about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes to do an entire design, which is 3 of these boxes. But it can take anywhere between that and maybe up to like 30 minutes. But it really is based on pace and how accurate you can be with the setting the glue down and getting these things on, which I know will take a little time to get used to. And so again, edge, finger, let go, we'll adjust some more. Turn that one. And again, they don't have to be perfect, but you know, somewhat straight. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the AM PMs, which can be probably the most trickiest part. So what I do normally here is we'll put just a tiny little the smallest dot on the AM PM, but you don't want to squeeze the bottle. You just want to let the glue slowly make its way to the bottom here, and just like kind of push enough to where you just get a little bit poking out, just a tiny bit like that. I would say something like that. That's what you're kind of looking for. And you just go down, just give it it's a tiny little tap, just enough to get a little bubble on there, as you can see. And then normally I'll do that for the second one, both of them at the same time to save a little time, but you can do them individually as well if you want. And then of course we go and we grab the tab. Best looking one. The same thing with AM PMs. We want to make sure we get one that's fully colored. Let's see here. Yeah, so we get a fully colored one. That one's with the AM somewhat centered. If they are very off-centered, or the A's being cut off or the M's being cut off, then let's not use those. But fairly centered and fully colored. And so for this one, like I said, a little tricky. Now that you have the glue on, you're just gonna hover over the top. It's almost gonna like drop it on top of that little bubble, and then just a slight little adjustment. And these these will fit over that square pretty squarely, but they'll be a little overlaced, which is fine as long as they're straight, lined up with each other. It shouldn't be an issue. And then again with the PM, same situation. You want to make sure it's fully colored and centered as much as we can. And then just grab our two little fingers here and hover over the top, drop it on, and then you just straight down, just kind of push it down just to give it a little bit of pressure back on. You don't get too much because then you might shift it around, the glue will go everywhere. And then the last piece would be the black tabs, either for destination, present, or last time. Make sure they're all colored all the way around as well. And for these, I just do like a couple dots down the edge here, so it'll look like this. 1, 2. Didn't have to be exact number, just enough that it looks like it was spread across the entire back of it pretty easily. So do that, and then I'll do one little swipe like that. Again, we want to make sure there's no excess on the edges, or else that will bleed over into the box itself. So right now we're looking pretty good in regards to the amount that's on here. Let me double check. Yeah, you want it to look like that, not too much more. And that might be even on the heavier side for these, but something like that. If the gloss back there is flawless, then you might have too much. And again, we'll catch the edge here, set it down, finger on the edge, and I drop. And then I just tap and adjust. Just want to make sure that the top of this black box and the bottom of this box are pretty parallel, that there's not unevenness going either way, that you're going to use this and the bottom of this box and the top of this box as a reference point to make sure that this is straight. And so this side will go up a little bit. So we'll go down, and so now we're pretty straight there. And so that's how one box will get taken care of. And again, this can take anywhere 15 individually, like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just depending on speed and accuracy. And then so that's pretty much how these go. But if you have any questions or issues, let me know. I'm gonna want to give you some to practice on. I know it's not going to be easy to start out, but I want you to at least practice and see if it's something you want to continue. And then we'll go from there. So I appreciate your help.